This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and William Hill. Delighted to be in Harlow, Essex with Ben Davison at his own performance centre. How's things, mate? How have you been keeping?
Good, thanks, mate. You?
All good, mate. All good. A very, very busy weekend for you. We see Royston, Barney-Smith and Aloys Jr. out this weekend on the Joe Joyce versus Zhilei Zhang undercard. How excited are you to see them back out and further progress in their development?
Yeah, I think it's activity is obviously key for fighters at their age. I think Royston's 19 and Aloys is 20. Still very young. And I think between the pair of them, they've probably got about 6 or 7 first round knockouts, so not loads of rounds so far. So it's good. Activity's key. I think hopefully we can get a few rounds for the pair of them. I know it's great. I say this all the time. It's great for these knockouts and that build the hype, but like time spent under the ring and in the ring and under the lights. Not under the ring, obviously, but in the ring and under the lights is important and invaluable. And you can't buy it. You can do as much sparring as you want, but gaining that experience is vital. And because they're such good talents, I think they will be looked to move relatively quickly, but they are very young at the same time. So he's finding the right balance.
Absolutely, and we'll go on to it's not just this weekend, but a busy couple of weeks for you. We'll get on to Leigh Wood v Josh Warrington in a minute, but obviously we see Shabaz Masoud coming back out. How good is it now that he's finally getting active and people can really see the talent that he is?
Yeah, this is it's great. He's done this deal with Matchroom, and he's getting the opportunities that he needs. And I think that Matchroom understand that he's only had 11 fights. I think Shabaz, and he's ranked maybe 3 or 4 with the WBA, so his opportunity will come soon. So if you really want to see a fighter succeed, there's certain areas of his game that you want to work on and develop, and certain types of fights that you need to be able to do that as a coach to eventually get them to be able to do that consistently at world level. So I think they understand that, and he's got an opportunity October 21st to put into work some of the stuff that we've been working on, and make sure that to prevent scenarios that we don't want to see happen. And I think this is a great fight for that, because if he gets it wrong, he's going to put himself in problematic situations. And if he gets it right, I think he's got a chance to really shine. So it's a great opportunity for him.
When you see such a hot domestic division that he's in, like I said, there's been a lot of movement in his division, but he's sort of been sitting on the sidelines. So do you think sort of when he's now back in here, he can really prove that not only is he the best domestically, he can be the best on potentially a world scene? Yeah,
for sure. I think that the reality is this year. I think the Liam Davis situation, before this Matchroom thing, we was open to looking to do a deal for that fight. For whatever reason, it didn't grow any legs. So Matchroom obviously had Ahmed Aliyev at the time, who was WBA world champion. Unfortunately, he got beat by Tapales. So, but at the same time, like I said, Matchroom willing to an understanding of he needs a little bit of experience, and because sometimes I'm a little bit too honest in these interviews, but in spells, Shabaz is phenomenal. But then his consistency, and I think to get that, he's going to get that through. Being active, experience, and things like that. And that's certainly what he's getting October the 21st. Is San Martin's been about, can punch. So he needs to be consistent, switched on, and really he needs to make a statement, Shabaz, in terms of performance-wise.
Absolutely. We'll get on to October the 7th. Leigh Wood takes on Josh Warrington. A massive fight for both fighters. How excited are you to have this fight? And we know how good it will be from a fan's perspective. And how exciting is that for you?
Yeah, I think that it's rare to find two fighters that actually do perform and thrive off of the fans and the atmosphere. But these two are certainly that. Both got amazing fan bases, great characters. been so much respect outside of the ring, but once they get in there, that'll go out the window. There's not a doubt in my mind. So I said it before, and I've been saying it consistently throughout this build-up that, you know, certainly I can't see it being anything but a contender for Fight of the Year.
Absolutely. When you look at it now, I know you said you're not buying into the hype that Josh Warrington is, you know, past his best or anything like that. But when you look at it, when you look at the broken jaw, the injuries he's taken, the Lara fight, the tax that he's had, do you feel like you could potentially be getting him at the best time in a way?
No, not really. If I'm honest, I think that the bits between his teeth, I think you can see that when he's being interviewed, when he's talking about it. I think that you can actually physically see it. He's gritting his teeth and he's almost emotional about the situation where that hunger's there. I want to be back on top. I want to be the A side. So I don't buy into that at all. I think at the same time, you know, Leigh's had 2. This is his 3rd fight already this year. Not long ago, you know, he's been in tough fights as well, and he had an operation on his shoulder as well. So, you know, the reality is the pair of them are older, but at the same time, the way they look after themselves is much better than some of these younger fighters. So they're able to continually keep performing. So I think they're both still in great form, and like I said, I think that will show on the night. So I think it'll be a great performance from both guys.
And you saying there about Josh having the bit between his teeth, is that an exciting prospect for you because you know that he's going to go out there with something to prove? So, yeah, is that an exciting thing for you?
I can sit here and say that, but I'd love for him to turn up fucking, do you know what I mean, busted, but it's not going to be the case, do you know what I mean? I'm just realistic. It'd be pointless me trying to build false confidence in saying he's mentally not there, he's beat already before. I know it's not the case, do you know what I mean, at all. I know that he's going to be right up for it, as he always is, and I think he's just better off being real about the situation. So yeah, I can, you know, I'd love for him to be over the hill and injured and at 10%. I'd much rather that than him come in at 100%. But the reality is, you know, I know that he's going to come in. He would have prepared well as always. He's a true professional, and he's an animal once he stepped through them ropes. So we know what to expect.
And you look at Leigh Wood now. We've really seen the best of him, in the best form of his career. World champion. You know, I'm sure, sort of, you know, not in a disrespectful way, but some of his sort of first fights when he lost to Jazza Dickens, this and that. I don't think anyone could sort of see the position that he'd be in now. What would you put this down to? That he's almost even the sort towards the back end of his career, he's actually boxing, you know, the best he could have been.
Yeah, I just think we've helped him make some adjustments to his style, and in preparation where he knows he's just better prepared. I can't say it's us. You know what I mean? We've helped him, but he's done the work, and I think we've just shown him a different way of approaching things, and he's bought into it, and you know, it's paid dividends for him. I think also. You know, have you seen the analogy, the picture where it says success people perceive to be a straight line? Yeah. That's just the reality of it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like some people lose no matter what. People lose if they're undefeated. Guess what? They've lost. Just sometimes they've lost in the gym. They've lost behind the scenes. They've not. Do you know what I mean? They've been bashed up, but they've addressed why did that happen? What do I need to do to be better? Unfortunately, Leigh took a loss against Gav, had to learn something there. Took the loss against Jazza, had to learn something there. But at the same time, that took him on a path which has led to this, where he's at now. So sometimes, you know, and I think this is really important as well for fighters that are coming through that might have took a loss or might be getting bashed up in the gym. That when you stick with it, and you're doing the right things, things will pay off. You have to believe in that. And defeat has been the secret to Leigh's success, to be honest with you, because that's where the adjustments got made. And I'll be honest, when he got in trouble against Jazza Dickens and he beat his chest in that moment, that was the sign to me that when he's got character in him, I like him. And, you know, it was from then that I was keen to bring him down to the gym, because I thought, you know, that stood out to me more than anything else. And then one thing led to another. In terms of first fight was Reece Mould. A little bit of resistance at the start. I think he was a little bit like, oh, you know, it's a different approach, the way we approach things in preparation. So I think there was a little bit of resistance there. Then them scenarios happened. I think it was like, and to be honest with you, do you know what else happened? The night of the Reece Mould fight, we didn't start. Obviously, it was in COVID, so we went back to the hotel room. In round one, during round one, we sit down eating pizza, watching Josh versus Lara, and I said he's going to get beat here, and then he got beat, and Leigh was like, "How did you know that?" I could just see straight away. I was like, "It's a bad style matchup," and I think that was another moment for Leigh where it was like, actually, like, they can actually see something here, and there's a method to the madness. And then the relationship just flourished from there. And now, you know, there's just almost blind faith, which sometimes, you know, you need the fighter to have to think themselves they're the ones in there as well. Sometimes, you know, that's not Leigh, but that's all of the fighters will sometimes rely solely, this is definitely going to happen. No, there's a high possibility of this happening, but this might happen, that might happen. People's reactions change. People make adjustments. So yeah, I think that just in terms of a new approach, a new outlook on things, and it's really worked for Leigh.
And it's funny you say that about the losses that you're taking. You talk about the Jazz Dickin fights and other things like that, because there's always an analogy that former UFC bantamweight champion Dominic Cruz always said, and he always said about, you know, fighters retiring undefeated. You could always question, you know, did you push yourself hard enough? So would you sort of agree with that statement there?
I totally understand what he's saying. But there are, like, for example, Floyd Mayweather. It really bugs me when people say cherry picked. Look who he boxed. You can't say he cherry picked. Do you know what I mean? There was often champions had to box champions and unify just to be eligible. If he boxed a normal world champion, people were like, "What's he boxing him for?" Like, it was almost a league of his own just to be eligible to box him. There's all, you know, yes, there's the argument Canelo was young, yeah, Floyd was old. Do you know what I mean?
I suppose Canelo dared to be great, so that's why he got the loss in a way.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly. So I think I totally understand what he's saying. In some respect, there's definitely that, like, you have to push yourself, and when you do so, and you do dare to be great. Same with what Canelo mentioned when he talked about the Bivol loss. You know, I looked to step up another weight class, and unfortunately it didn't work out. But I dared to be great. There is that element to it. But then there's also, you know, there is the Floyd Mayweather situation where he did. But there's always going to be critics no matter what. Floyd gets critics, he cherry-picked, it was too easy, and this, that, and the other. And then you get, he's not good enough, he got beat. So I think as long as yourself know that the only thing you can ever be satisfied with, and the only thing that can make you satisfied no matter what happens, is that you know you did everything you can to be the best that you can be. As long as you do that, I think that you can walk away and eventually you'll be happy. I think there's so many fighters, and unfortunately I've got a friend in this, a close friend of mine in another sport, where he now suffers from other things like addiction and things like that, because deep down he can't live with himself knowing I fucked about. I didn't give it everything. I could have done something there, and I wasted time, and I didn't take it seriously, and now I'm paying the consequence of it for the rest of my life. And it's a short career, like being an athlete. It's a really short career, so it's only a small window. And you mess up, you know, for a few years, or what you appear to be a small period of your life, or actually in terms of your lifespan of your career, it can be a big chunk of it, and it can be costly. So I think that the most important thing is that day to day, and all the greats that you hear talk, like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, all the greats that you hear talk about the successes they had, they did pretty much take it day by day. Each day I want to be better than yesterday. Each day can I do a little bit more. Each day can I make sure I learn something. I think that as long as you do have that approach, I think that's the only way that you can ever really be satisfied with your career at the end of the day, no matter what happens.
Absolutely, definitely, I agree with that. And further on the last one on Leigh Wood, after this fight, I know you're not looking past, you know, Josh Warrington, you've got a task there, but you did mention, he's getting on a bit. He's had a lot. It's his 30. He has 30 pro fights. What is really left for him after Josh Warrington, if there is anything left of him? Do you think?
Yeah, we'll see. I always feel a little bit slightly uncomfortable talking about making decisions for fighters in that respect. But who's to say that he doesn't make his mind up and go, I'm going to have one more fight at the City Ground and that's me done. Who's to say that this isn't an amazing fight and they end up doing it again at the City Ground? Making the weight is not going to make no bones about it. I think it's been clear to see when he steps on the scales, people know. Making the weight is difficult for Leigh. Getting down to featherweight now, so there is the option of moving up as well. So, yeah, we'll see. But like you said, not looking past Josh Warrington.
Absolutely. We'll move on. A man that was in the gym today and people are eagerly awaiting his return is Billy Joe Saunders. We see him up with we see him meeting up with Eddie Hearn. How realistic are you looking at a comeback for Billy, and how's things been in the gym for him?
Yeah, I'm confident that he's going to take place. It's just a case of when, which I think is being looked at the minute. What was the other question? Part of the question?
How's he been looking in the gym?
How's he been looking? Yeah, look, he's a natural. Do you know what I mean? He's a natural, being honest with you. So he'll never be a million miles off of where you'd expect. But I think that he's open to slightly different approaches this time, more so in the sense of how we like to approach preparation and that. So I think that will definitely be a benefit for him. I think that when you're slightly better prepared, you rely less on reactions, anticipation, physicality. When you're prepared a bit better, mentally a bit sharper, you can be 3 steps ahead upstairs. I think that will help. That will help him in this part of his comeback as well.
So what you're saying there about the mental and it sort of is a lot of it. Well, we know that there's obviously physical weight that needs to go off, but do you think that there's much of a chance of there's not, you don't really need to make him believe in himself again?
No, I think if anything, I think that there was I'm not talking for him, but I think if you watch the Canelo fight, you'd probably say bit ropey first couple of rounds, maybe settled into the fight and started to have a bit of success. I think that's a sign of, actually, do you know what? Let me relax here. I can actually do what I need to do here, and grew in confidence through the fight before what happened. And I think that coming away from post-fighting somebody like Canelo, a pound-for-pound great, had a similar conversation when Tyson boxed Klitschko. What you gain from that makes you a better fighter. And I think, if anything, even though it was a loss, I think Billy Joe looks at that and goes, do you know what it is? At 100%, I can do more than just compete in a situation like that at that level. So I think he's actually come away from that built with confidence.
And you saying there, after the Canelo fight, and with him now, it's not necessarily, he's not boxing for financial security, he's not boxing to secure his family, he's boxing because he wants to, he's boxing for a legacy in a way. So does that make him a better fighter because of that as well?
Maybe. I think that again, I think that they lose sight. You've got to imagine, right? It's really hard for a lot of people to comprehend. But imagine having a dream from 5 years old, yeah? Like this, I'm being serious. Imagine having a dream from 5 years old. You get to 30 and you eventually actually achieve that. A lot of people, as we saw with Tyson, eventually actually have a bit of a come down off of that. Actually, I've done it. Like, what is next? I don't. Yeah, like what. It didn't feel the same way I expected. I remember when Billy Joe became a world champion and having a conversation with him, he would say to me, like, to be honest with you, I often forget, like, I'm champion of the world, like, and I think then so many fighters lose sight of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I've already achieved it. What's the next? What's the next? What's the next? And again, it really goes down to the journey is the destination, and you're just taking it day by day. And what comes with that is, not to say don't have a goal, obviously, but I think that's really important because, you know, eventually when you do achieve that goal, it's so easy to lose sight of what am I doing it for? And I think that then so many fighters, I see this so much, they honestly believe, and they truly do believe it to themselves, they're doing it for money. They truly do believe that. But they're not. They're not doing it for money because they all want to come back once they retire. They all want to come back. It's just unfortunate that's so often that's the path that so many of them take, rather than just really making the most of it in that period of time. But, you know, everybody has their own path, and going back to Billy Joe, I think that with him, he did lose the love for the game, and it was a bit of a slog, and you know, it was a long period of time where everybody wanted to. I think he was world champion for about 6 or 7 years, Billy Joe, before he actually ended up getting like the Canelo fight or something like that. So I think there was a long time of promising or expecting to get one of these mega fights, and it didn't come. I think that can be quite disheartening. And eventually it did come. And then he's had a bit of time away from the sport. And I think that if you was to speak to him now, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I think if you was to speak to him now, he'd say, I needed that time away. I've realised that I do miss the sport, and I'm coming back for the right reasons, in the sense of, you know, I would still do what I do if I won the lottery. No, I know I certainly would. I'm sure you guys would still do it if, no matter what. You know, what else are you going to do? Sit in bed and pull your knob to pieces? They're all nodding behind us, but yeah, I think that it's just so easy. So I hear it so much, and it really frustrates me. Fighters genuinely believe they're just doing it for money. Yes, it's a business. It is a business, unfortunately. But are we doing it for that? Oh, no, I'm not. So it's just a part of it.
With you, what you're saying there about Billy, almost, you know, about the journey and this, that. Do you ever see yourself like that in coaching, where, you know, whilst the great nights, you know, the amazing nights, you know, Josh Taylor becoming an undisputed champion, the first fight against Deontay Wilder for Tyson Fury, and, you know, I could list off so many, you know, Leigh Wood becoming a world champion, but do you ever see yourself, you know, the actual enjoyment is, you know, days like this in the gym where we're working hard towards it, you know, when you first picked up Tyson Fury, losing all that weight, are those more the things that you sort of, you know, the working towards it is actually the most enjoyable part?
Yeah, some of the best days was just days in the gym where you're having a bit of banter with the lads, like you're working hard and you're having a laugh and all the rest of it. That's probably the most, you know, if I was to look back on those times, I wouldn't look back on fight night. I know that's the highlight of it for the public, is fight night, when that fight happened, but I would look at the training camp. If you say to me, talk to me about, you know, times leading in, or, you know, the time around, I would immediately, what would flash in my head is the training camp. You know, we had an amazing laugh, amazing time, got some serious work done, and you know, the fight is just like the end product, so to speak. But it's the process to get there, and yeah, for sure. Like, I love just every single day in the gym. I genuinely do, and it frustrates me, and it is a weakness of mine. I am aware of it. I just can't help it. I'm very honest with the fighters when I say this. Like, if you give me, for example, I often say this. If you give me 100%, I'll give you 200%. And when I say I'll give you 200%, I mean I pay for extra coaches to be here. Yeah? So when you spar, we'll watch it live. There'll probably be 2 coaches watching it live. We'll record it. He'll go back and watch it again. I'll go back and watch it again. Each time you spar probably gets watched 4 times. Each spar. You spar 3 times a week. That's 12 times. That's 12 sessions. And you've sparred 3 times. We've gone over it 12 times. That's before clipping moments, going back over it, then showing the fighter. You give me 100%, I'll give you 200. But I also tell them, I'm so honest, if you give me 50, I'll give you 10. I can't help that. I'm not interested. I can't force that bit of, oh yeah, I haven't got that in me, unfortunately, and I'm so honest with the fighters with that. You give me 100, I'll give you 200. You give me 50, I'll give you 10. And they know about it, and they're very aware, and they'll moan sometimes if they come in and they're fucking about, or they turn up late, or miss a day, or I ask them, what did we work on last week, and they can't tell me. I can't help it, but that passion, that motivation for me very quickly fades away. So, yeah, they know about it, but, you know, that's because every single day I love it, and every day is important. Every day is important, as we've discussed throughout this interview.
Absolutely. You sticking on the topic of passion and motivation, we just mentioned Tyson Fury there. He's obviously boxing Francis Ngannou next. That comes with a lot of criticism, and he's always said, you know, he's been saying recently about, you know, he's not interested in Undisputed. He's talking about fighting John Jones again. Do you think from the time that you was with him, do you think there's been a switch in his mentality in a way, and a change in his personality?
Not a change in his personality. I'll tell you what it is with Tyson, yeah. As mad as this sounds, he's very easily led. Very easily led. And you'd say it's madness. He's 6'9", 280, 70 pound, whatever he is, man, king of the world, etc., etc. He's very easily led. Very often we would have a conversation, right? And this is actually how I used to battle the mood swings and all the rest of it with him. So he might start a conversation, it'd be low, talking very negatively, etc. I would often get on his wavelength and talk negatively, and then start to bring the conversation back up. And it worked. It worked. It was so easily, yeah, you're right, yeah. All of a sudden, you go from a low mood into a good mood. If you was to have the conversation of, we're going to secure in the bag, lovely. But then if you was to have the conversation, you know, about the Usyk fight and actually going into detail, don't get it twisted. He would be thinking, yeah, I can do that. I want to challenge that. I fancy that. The reality is this, yeah. He's going into this fight with Ngannou. If he was to play down this Ngannou fight and just talk about an Usyk fight, it wouldn't go down well, would it? Do you know what I mean? It's his job to talk this fight up. Yeah, I'm going in the cage next, etc., etc. If he did do that, whatever, that would be another massive event. But I think that, just personally, I haven't had the conversation with him at all, but I think that if everybody thinks that conversations for this Usyk thing to take place isn't happening behind the scenes, I think people are mad, because I certainly believe that is, and I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know anything, but I wouldn't be madly shocked if after, like literally in the ring post this exhibition thing that they was to announce this Usyk fight, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, what a shock. I wouldn't be surprised.
Absolutely, definitely. I've kept you for quite a while, so I'm just going to keep for one last one. We did see Leigh McGregor sort of come up short against Eric Robles last month or a couple months ago. What is the update with Leigh McGregor? And as we were talking earlier about sort of taking the losses, how has he sort of dealt with it? How have you dealt with it? And what's next for him?
Yeah, Leigh's had a really hard time outside of the ring. There's been a lot of things that have gone on in his personal life, probably over the last 2 years, being honest with you. Really, really difficult. And he's had a difficult, you know, he's had a difficult life, a difficult upbringing and that. But he's had a really tough time as of late, just things outside the ring, and then things haven't gone exactly to plan in terms of activity and fights that were supposed to take place, and etc., etc. He's had difficulties with his weight, which everybody knows about. And then this Robles fight, I thought it was probably a fight too soon in terms of getting back active. But it was an opportunity that come up, and collectively we decided to go ahead with it. So we have to take that one on the chin. I think it's a fight that Leigh's certainly capable of winning. You know, truly believe that. I think what's important for him now is to keep back active. But and he's a top operator, Leigh. He's a really top operator, and I'm sure that he's going to prove that. But Leigh is, you know, he spent a lot of time away from home. He's got obligations and all the rest of it at home. So I think he's going to train at home now, Leigh, back in Scotland. You know, I think he'll probably have a think about what weight he wants to compete at as well. But look, activity is key for every fighter, and he's had such big inactive periods. It's not stood him in good stead, and I think that's shown, as well as on top of all these things that have happened outside, and the situation with his weight as well. So, yeah, I think you will see him back where he belongs eventually, and it's but I think he'll be training from home. Well, not from home, but back up in Scotland now.
So just if he's training with Scotland, would that mean he's not be training? Cheers. So just going to say thank you for the time. Sorry, mate. Sorry, but I just wanted to make 100% sure. And I didn't know if you'd be travelling, going up to Scotland with him or that. But just like, I know it's just a last one from me. Like just what you were saying there about you feeling like the Robles fight might have been too soon for him. Is it important? Whilst you believe you can win, is it sometimes important to have fights where it's like, you know what, there's the chance that we may not win this?
Oh, there's always that. You know, when that's the difference between that's not to be funny, but that what stands us in such good stead, because we're going a lot of the time as a team, we're going into highly competitive fights, and you know, there's not many that I think we've had. Leigh Wood lost to Lara. But he put that right. Congo lost to Esselman. Thought it was close. I personally did think Congo nicked that, but it was tight, so I wouldn't really make a huge fuss over that. McGregor lost to Robles. I think that's the 3 losses, but if you name how many title fights that we've gone into and come out successful. So, but all of those are, you know, for example, we went into this Lara rematch, right? Do you remember the situation with the weight, where he coming over weight?
Yeah, he came in 120,
yeah.
Was it 129? He came in 128 and a half.
129. No, it was late 129s, I think. And there was so much talk of got to pull him out and all the rest of it. Well, I was confident Leigh was going to win that fight. Nothing really changed for me, and I was confident Leigh was going to be the bigger fighter once he got in there. But I was fully aware that there's still a chance that he could have got clipped with a shot and he could have lost. That's boxing. It can happen. These things do happen. All of a sudden, it would have been, what a stupid decision. But the fact that that didn't happen is all of a sudden the best decision. That towel was the best decision that I ever got made, and all the rest of it. So it's a fine line, isn't it? And yeah, look, so, you know, I just think that sometimes there's other things. It was the first fight of a new promoter. They wanted a big headline in Scotland, and you know, the opportunity for this IBO World Title thing come up. So there's lots of things that play a part in making the decision to go ahead with it. But you know, it would have been nice, I think, for Leigh just to have another 10-rounder before going into that, just to keep that bit of activity and another step back to where he was. He was definitely moving in the right direction, but probably needed another fight in between that. But yeah, look, there's lots of factors that play a part as well. So, but you know what, he did have an amazing turnout. I don't know why, but it didn't look great on TV. Like in terms of,
but there was only one stand though, weren't it?
Yeah, but it was like a great atmosphere, packed out. People were saying, oh, it weren't busy, was it? But it was rammed, and it was a really good turnout for him. So I think that, you know, they can definitely build something there. You know, great fan base he's got up there with Leigh. So yeah, I do. I think they'll do something with Leigh, and he'll be back on the right path and where he belongs.
Absolutely. Ben, just want to say we've been going for about 35 minutes now, so I do appreciate your time. I do appreciate the time to inviting us down the gym and have us there. So thank you for the interview. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Cheers for that.